Hey guys, it's Zip from Zip's Tactical, and today I want to do a short video on small-handed pistol shooting tips. Okay, I'm 5'1", and I've got small hands. Freakishly small. Big palm for my size, but like tiny bitty little sausage fingers. So I've been struggling with the small hands thing for a good while now. And the small hands thing, when I first started shooting pistols, I was getting told by, some buddies of mine that there's just guns out there I'm not going to be able to shoot, and I'm never going to be as fast, or I'm never going to be as good, and that's just not true. There's plenty of small-handed dudes out there that are phenomenal pistol shooters, and even though I wouldn't consider myself a phenomenal pistol shooter, I think I've gotten pretty good over the years. So, and it's because I've picked up on a few tricks just from shooting and experimenting and taking classes and learning from other people how they've been able to teach other small-handed people. So if you go to a reputable instructor, for one, they're gonna line everybody up, and they're gonna basically assess everybody's shooting ability so that they can kind of figure out what they're going to be working with you on throughout the course of the class. So take a class, go ahead. You just go ahead and pay some money and do it. You'll learn some good things, and it'll be fun. You'll shoot a bunch of bullets, and you'll have a good time, and they'll help you with anything you need help with. So, but these are all things I've picked up on. These are all things that I've been taught, and I've been able to kind of mitigate the small hands thing. Okay, so I'm not an instructor, by the way, at all. So if any of this doesn't work for you, then I'm sorry. Go take a class. Anyway, so I've got two pistols out here. I've got the P320 Compact and M&P 2.0. Okay, and the reason why I've got two out here is because one of them takes backstraps and is a full-size pistol. Okay, so first thing we're going to cover, use the smallest backstrap. If you have small hands, use the smallest backstrap. I don't, this is one thing that I will say, I don't really care what anybody else has to say about this issue. Use the smallest backstrap. Okay, on my M&P, I'm using the smallest backstrap that they have. And the reason for that is that if I can't control this pistol, okay, if I personally cannot control this pistol, then it does not matter what this pistol is doing to mitigate recoil. I will not be able to control this pistol. That's just the bottom line. Okay, because I've heard people, like at gun shops and stuff, I've heard people say, well, you just throw the biggest backstrap on there. It's pointless to use the small ones. The biggest ones always mitigate the most recoil. And don't listen to that. If you've got small hands, if you put this pistol in your hand right now and you cannot engulf the whole pistol grip, then put the smallest one on, because you'll be able to, all right? And being able to swallow this grip is going to mitigate more recoil, because you now can control the pistol properly than any amount of cool doodads you put on your pistol, okay? That's to include the backstrap, the biggest backstrap. So, if you've got small hands, put the smallest backstrap on there. It's what it's there for. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter what anybody says. You need to be able to control the pistol better, okay? So, got that out of the way, okay? So, one other thing that I've been taught, and I know most of you have probably been taught, especially if you've been on the internet, if you're looking at things on the internet, try and remember that internet lessons are not oriented to you personally. They're for an average audience. So the average person who looks at this site or this video, blah, 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 that just got released is going to be able to benefit from it. That's just the bottom line. So one of the things you see on the internet a lot, and it is good, it works for average people, is to keep your arm lined up with the bore, okay? Now the problem with that is it makes it where the trigger finger, I don't know if you can probably kind of see it, but my trigger finger doesn't get a really good plant here. It's kind of the edge of my finger, right? Okay, so when I first started shooting pistols, I was doing that. I was keeping it lined up with the bore, and when I was at the range, I could keep my trigger discipline pretty good, right? So I was just shooting at a regular target with no time limits, nothing crazy, just shooting targets, trying to be accurate. This wasn't a problem. My first competition, I tried to do this, and I was just jerking the trigger this way the entire time, because I was trying to pick up speed. And when you're trying to pick up speed, or when you're under high stress, let's just be real here, if I was in a self-defense scenario, I'd be slapping the trigger, okay? Because when you pull with the edge of your finger, basically, it's going to jerk this way, okay? So something that I think is probably more important than the whole keeping this lined up with your arm is being able to reach the trigger. So if you have to get outside of alignment with the bore a little bit to reach the trigger properly, do it. Because being able to pull this trigger properly is way more important than mitigating the tiny bit of extra recoil that lining up your bore with that is going to do. If you watch Jerry Miculek shoot, he doesn't even do that, and he's got big hands. Okay, watch Jerry Miculek shoot sometime. He doesn't even keep his bore lined up with his arm. Okay, he does the same thing. So the gun's not gonna explode because you decided to give yourself a little bit more trigger reach. Okay, so go ahead and do that. All right, just go ahead and give yourself the room to pull the trigger properly. Okay, that's way more important. The next thing is if you watch any of these videos, remember they're good stuff. It's all good knowledge, but it's being oriented to an average audience. So one of the things you see a lot, sorry, I just totally shook my camera. One of the things you see a lot is like, so if you watch any of the videos, they're talking about this gap here, right? You need to cover this gap. But the way that they tell you to cover it is to come in at like a 45-degree angle with your wrist. That way you're locking this wrist, okay? And then you're driving forward kind of with this hand. Now that's good. You want to be able to mitigate your recoil this way, okay? But if you're small-handed, there's a big old gap coming out at the bottom of the grip right here, okay? So what happens is that this pistol is going to come back, it's going to recoil, and then all of the energy is going to come down through that gap you have in the grip. It's going to shoot backward. So what will happen if you're left-handed like me, this gap will be here, and all the energy is going to come out here, and the pistol is going to do this every time you shoot. So that's not consistent, and that's a problem, in my opinion. I think that mitigating recoil is great, but the amount of recoil you're going to mitigate by covering the whole grip and doing this, okay, like my wrist is still pushing forward. It's not like it's not doing its job still. It's just not doing that, okay? Instead, I've got the whole grip covered as much as I can possibly cover with my two hands, my two small hands, as much as I can possibly cover, okay? And this is going to mitigate more recoil. It just will. Being able to shove down like this is great, but if you have small hands, you're at a disadvantage, and just get used to that. You're at a disadvantage, and being able to actually cover the grip is going to reduce more recoil, okay? Experiment with the two, though. I mean, like, this is just stuff that's worked for me. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. What's it gonna? It's not gonna hurt you to experiment between the two. But believe me, just covering up the grip is going to absorb more recoil off the bat. So go ahead and cover up more grip, okay, and make sure you can reach the trigger. And take a class or two. There's plenty of reputable instructors out there that have dealt with small-handed people and have taught them how to shoot, okay. Between dudes bringing their wives to classes and guys like me who have small hands, okay, they've seen plenty of us, and they've got plenty of expert advice to give, and this is some of the expert advice I've gotten, okay. So another thing to remember is like, there's not a pistol out there you're not going to be able to shoot, okay. There's not. I've shot all kinds of crazy big gripped pistols that are just old school and have poor trigger reach for small-handed people and stuff like that, and I'm able to shoot them just fine. It's just when you're picking a pistol for defensive use, if you're picking a pistol for the first time, or if you bought one recently and you realize your hands are just not working with it, then try to remember that the pistol picks you. You don't necessarily pick the pistol. Okay, pick something that's going to fit your hand. It's going to complement the fact that you have small hands. So that's why I have an M&P here. It has a really good trigger reach. It's really easy for me to get a pretty good little fixture on this pistol and still reach the trigger, right? The P320, another good one, okay? I'm able to reach this trigger just fine, no problems with it, and it's extremely controllable, okay? Something that small-handed people probably struggle with is none of us want to be restricted to what we get, though, right? We all want to be able to fire a full-sized handgun, control it, Not everybody wants to have to buy a smaller pistol. And in a lot of ways, buying a smaller pistol makes it less shootable, okay? Even though this is an extremely shootable pistol, okay, if I had the full-size model out right now, I'm telling you, it's even more shootable, even though I have small hands. So learning to shoot a pistol with small hands without sacrificing the things that matter most is going to benefit because you can shoot a full-size pistol. All right, because at the end of the day, if you have small hands, it's just a disadvantage. It doesn't mean that you can't shoot a pistol well. It's just a disadvantage. You're probably never going to be, never is not the right word. You're probably not going to be as good as your buddies for a good while, but you'll get way better, and you'll be able to shoot and compete with all the best of them. Okay, if you practice enough. Something to remember though is pick a pistol that's going to fit your hand good. Okay, some Glocks don't, but then again, there's plenty of Glocks out there. Glock has designed some great stuff with their grips. The Gen 4s have adjustable back straps and stuff like that. So you can find a Glock out there that'll fit your hand just fine. They got good trigger reach for the most part. I found some out there that fit my hand really well. The Glock 19 for one. Everybody, the 19 is pretty much the all-around winning pistol, right? So Glock, the SIG P320, the M&P, those three have really good trigger reaches. CZs have phenomenal trigger reach. I shoot CZs extremely well, in my opinion. I think I shoot them pretty well, but I know plenty of other small-handed people out there that shoot CZs extremely well. So give them a try. The P07 and the P09, those are two of my all-time favorite pistols, and they shoot really well. And they work really well for small-handed people. So give those a try if you're still looking around for something that's going to fit your hand better. For the most part, though, it's just going to be experimentation. If you can't afford to go out and take a really nice class, or if you just don't want to save up for it, which is understandable, then just experiment. Go buy a 50-round box and try some things. Put like 5 rounds in a mag and shoot 5 doing one thing and then shoot 5 doing the other thing. But I really suggest trying these things because I think that these kind of cover the priorities more because if I didn't explain it well enough, okay, being able to push down on the muzzle while you're shooting isn't gonna mitigate the recoil as well as just covering up the grip or the energy's trying to escape. Trying to fight the recoil and trying to actually control the pistol are going to be two totally different things, and I think that being able to control the pistol is way more important. Okay, but then again, hand sizes differ, and the way that you're going to be able to control the pistol is going to differ. So, definitely experiment, but these things have helped me a lot and have gotten me to the point where I can actually shoot competitively at this point, where I'm beating people in a competition. And if you really want to try some new things, really do go compete. Find a competition near you because there's going to be dudes there that are going to help you out, and they're gonna kind of complement what you're doing currently. They're going to be able to watch you and tell you, hey, what you're doing is working. And it's going to put you in a little bit more of a stressful situation. Does that make sense? You're going to actually get to see what all you're messing up while you shoot, and that's a big deal. You want to be able to, put yourself out of the focus, right? Because when you're sitting in a one-way range, just standing there shooting at one target, you don't really get to see what you're messing up because you're so focused on what you're doing that you're not really going to notice what you're messing up when the time comes where you're most likely to mess up, if that makes sense. So that's the best place to learn is in a training class or in a competition, because it's going to push you in a way that you're going to be able to see directly what you're doing wrong and what you can try and do to fix it. And there'll be people there to help you try and fix that. So that's my 2 cents on the small-handed issue. If you have any other questions, or if you're small-handed and you have anything that you can add to this, please go ahead and comment. Please like and subscribe. And I'm looking forward to doing other videos like this. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.